The happiest day of my life lasted exactly 4 hours. At 11:47 p.m., someone pounded on our front door. Not a normal knock. The kind that makes your heart stop. Before I could even reach the handle. FBI. Open the door. My brand new wife turned completely pale. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and whispered, "I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to be part of this." Seconds later, armed agents stormed into our house. One of them looked straight at my wife and said, "Emily Carter, you're under arrest." Then another agent looked at me and said something that changed my life forever. "Sir, we don't think you're a victim anymore." Part 1, The Woman I Thought Was Perfect. My name is Ryan. I'm 31 years old, and until last year I believed love could appear when you least expected it. After years of failed relationships, I stopped dating completely. Work became my entire life. Wake up. Go to work. Come home. Eat dinner alone. Sleep. Repeat. One night, while scrolling through an online book forum, I received a message from a woman named Emily. She wasn't flirting. She simply replied to one of my book reviews. We spent hours talking about novels, movies, childhood memories, and life. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Soon, talking to Emily became the best part of every day. She made me laugh. She listened when I talked about losing my father. She remembered little details nobody else cared about. For the first time in years, I felt seen. After 8 months of video calls and messages, she finally agreed to meet me in person. I was terrified. What if we had no chemistry? What if everything online was fake? The moment she walked into the cafe, every fear disappeared. She smiled exactly the way she smiled on video. She hugged me before saying a word. It felt like we'd known each other forever. That weekend became one of the happiest weekends of my life. 6 months later, I proposed. She cried. Then she whispered, "Yes." Looking back now, there were warning signs. Tiny ones. She never wanted me to meet anyone from her past. She claimed her parents had passed away. She said she'd lost touch with old friends. Whenever I asked about her hometown, she changed the subject. I assumed she had painful memories. I never pushed. Because when you love someone, you don't interrogate them. You trust them. Or at least, I did. Our wedding was small. Only close friends. Simple decorations. No unnecessary drama. Emily looked breathtaking in her white dress. As she walked down the aisle, I honestly believed I'd found the woman I'd spend the rest of my life with. If someone had told me that armed federal agents would interrupt our wedding night, I would have laughed in their face. I had absolutely no idea that the woman standing beside me was hiding a secret so dangerous it would destroy everything I thought I knew. Part 2, The FBI Took My Wife. Then they asked me a question that made no sense. The pounding on the door echoed through the entire house. Bang! 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 FBI! Open the door now. For a second, I honestly thought it was some kind of prank. Maybe one of my friends trying to ruin our wedding night. I looked at Emily. She wasn't confused. She wasn't surprised. She looked terrified. The color drained from her face. Her hand started shaking so badly that she dropped the glass of champagne she had been holding. It shattered across the floor. She slowly looked at me. There were tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Ryan." Those were the last words she said before I opened the door. The moment the lock clicked, 6 armed federal agents rushed inside. Hands where we can see them. Before I could even react, someone pushed me against the wall. Another agent grabbed Emily. She didn't resist. Almost like she had been expecting this day. One of the agents read from a document. Emily Carter, you're under arrest for identity fraud, conspiracy, and assisting an international cybercrime investigation. Identity fraud? Cybercrime? I couldn't even process the words. My wife? The woman who cried while watching Disney movies? The woman who volunteered at animal shelters? None of it made sense. As they placed handcuffs on her wrists, she looked back at me. I wanted to tell you. I really did. But I knew you'd leave. Then they walked her outside. Red and blue lights reflected across every house on the street. Neighbors stood outside recording everything on their phones. The happiest day of my life had become the biggest humiliation of my life. One of the agents stayed behind. He looked around our house before sitting across from me. My name is Special Agent Daniel Brooks. I know you're confused. I nodded. I don't understand any of this. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he asked, Ryan, how long have you known Emily Carter? About 14 months. He slowly shook his head. I don't think you have. My heart skipped a beat. What does that mean? He slid a photograph across the table. It showed the woman I had just married. But underneath the picture, the name wasn't Emily Carter. It read, Sophia Bennett. No. I whispered. That's impossible. I've seen her passport. I've seen her driver's license. Agent Brooks sighed. They're all fake. Every document. Every ID. Every certificate. Fake. I felt sick. Who is she? He leaned forward. That's exactly what we're trying to figure out. Before leaving, he handed me his card. If she ever contacts you, don't answer. Call me first. After the agents drove away, the house felt completely silent. Wedding gifts still covered the living room. Our wedding cake was still sitting on the kitchen counter. Her bouquet lay on the floor where she'd dropped it. Everything looked normal. Except, my wife had vanished. That night, I didn't sleep. I searched through every drawer, every suitcase, every closet. Most of her clothes were still there, but one small black backpack was missing. Inside the bedroom closet, I noticed something else. A loose wooden panel behind the shelf. I'd never seen it before. I pulled it open. Inside was a small metal box. No lock. No label. Just a single folded note resting on top. Written in Emily's handwriting. It said only 6 words. Ryan, don't trust the FBI. My hand started trembling. Had the woman I loved been lying to me from the beginning? Or was someone else lying now? At that moment, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I hesitated. Then answered. A familiar voice whispered. Ryan, listen carefully. They're watching your house. And if you want the truth, you have exactly 20 minutes. Then, the call disconnected. Part 3, the truth started with a hidden flash drive. I stared at my phone. The call had lasted less than 15 seconds. I immediately called the number back. The number you have dialed is unavailable. Gone. It was as if the call had never happened. My eyes drifted back to the metal box. Inside, beneath the note, was a tiny black USB flash drive. There was no label. No explanation. Just the drive. I plugged it into my laptop. At first, nothing happened. Then a single folder appeared. Its name was, "If you love me, watch this first." My heart pounded. I clicked it. A video began playing. Emily appeared on the screen. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were red from crying. "If you're watching this, Ryan, then everything has gone wrong. I'm sorry for lying about my name. My real name isn't Emily Carter. It's Sophia Bennett. But everything else I told you about how I felt for you, that part was real." Tears rolled down her face. "I never wanted to drag you into my past." She took a deep breath. "My older brother, Ethan, worked for a criminal organization that stole millions of dollars through online financial scams. I found out what they were doing when I threatened to go to the police. They killed him." I froze. She continued. "They made it look like an accident. And after that, they came after me. They forced me to create fake identities so they could move money without being traced. I had no choice. I spent 3 years pretending to be someone else just to stay alive." My hands shook as I watched. "But 6 months before I met you, I secretly contacted the FBI. I agreed to become an informant. I gave them everything. Names, bank accounts, encrypted files. I thought they would protect me." She looked away from the camera. "They didn't. My identity was leaked. The organization discovered I had betrayed them. They've been hunting me ever since." I couldn't breathe. Then came the sentence that changed everything. "If the FBI arrested me, it means someone inside the investigation betrayed us." I paused the video. My mind was spinning. Was she telling the truth? Or was this just another lie? Before I could think, the lights inside my house suddenly went out. Everything went dark. A second later, I heard glass shattered downstairs. Someone had broken into the house. I quietly grabbed the heavy flashlight from the kitchen drawer. Every instinct told me to run. Instead, I slowly walked toward the living room. The front door was still locked, but the back window had been smashed. Footsteps echoed through the hallway. Then, a man's voice. "Find the flash drive. We know it's here." There were at least 3 of them. They weren't stealing jewelry. They weren't looking for money. They had come for one thing: the USB drive. I slipped it into my pocket and quietly climbed the stairs. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure they could hear it. A floorboard creaked beneath my feet. Silence. Then one of the men shouted, "He's upstairs." Heavy footsteps thundered toward me. I sprinted down the hallway and locked myself inside the bathroom. The door shook violently. Bang! 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 "It won't hold for long," one of them yelled. Desperate, I opened the small bathroom window. It overlooked the backyard. Without thinking, I jumped. The fall knocked the air out of my lungs. Pain shot through my ankle. But I forced myself to stand. I climbed over the fence and ran into the darkness. Halfway down the street, a black SUV pulled up beside me. The passenger window rolled down. Behind the wheel was Agent Daniel Brooks. "Get in," he shouted. "They found you faster than we expected." I hesitated. Emily's note flashed through my mind. "Don't trust the FBI." The armed men were only seconds away. The FBI agent was reaching out his hand. If Emily had lied, getting into that SUV might save my life. But if Emily had been telling the truth, I was about to climb into a trap. Part 4. I had to decide in 5 seconds. The black SUV rolled to a stop beside me. Agent Daniel Brooks leaned across the passenger seat. "Ryan. Get in. Now." Behind me, the three men had already reached the end of the street. One of them pointed in my direction. "There he is." I had 5 seconds to make a decision. Emily's final note echoed in my mind. "Don't trust the FBI." But if I stayed where I was, I would probably die. I yanked the passenger door open and jumped inside. "Drive." Brooks slammed the accelerator. The SUV shot forward just as a black pickup truck sped after us. I looked through the rear window. The men weren't giving up. "They're following us," I shouted. "I know," Brooks replied calmly. "Keep your head down." Seconds later. Bang! A bullet shattered the back window. Glass exploded across the back seat. I froze. "They're shooting at us." Brooks pulled out his radio. "Unit 7 requesting immediate backup. We're being pursued on Highway 41. No response. Only static." His expression changed. "That's strange." Another bullet struck the side of the SUV. The vehicle swerved violently. Then something unexpected happened. The pickup truck chasing us suddenly turned away. Not because they gave up. Because 2 police cars blocked the road ahead. Within seconds, they disappeared into another street. Brooks finally slowed the SUV. Neither of us spoke for almost a minute. Finally, he broke the silence. "Do you still have the flash drive?" I instinctively placed my hand over my pocket. "Yes." "Good. It's the only reason you're still alive." I frowned. I watched the video. His face became unreadable. "So, you know about Sophia?" "I know her real name. I know she worked with the FBI. And according to her, someone inside your agency betrayed her." Brooks gripped the steering wheel tighter. "I was afraid she'd tell you that." "So, is it true?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled into the underground parking garage of an abandoned government building. There were no signs. No employees. No security guards. Only silence. He led me into a small conference room. On the table sat 3 thick files. Each one had a different photograph of Sophia. Different names. Different passports. Different identities. Emily Carter. Sophia Bennett. Olivia Hayes. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. "How many lives has she lived?" I whispered. Brooks sighed. "Too many." He opened another folder. Inside were dozens of surveillance photos. Some showed Sophia meeting strangers. Others showed her entering banks, crossing borders, changing appearance, wearing different hair colors, different glasses, even different accents, according to the reports. "It looks bad," Brooks admitted. "But you haven't seen the most important file yet." He opened a sealed envelope. Inside was a photograph taken only 3 weeks earlier. I stared at it. Then my blood ran cold. It showed Sophia standing beside Agent Daniel Brooks. They were smiling. Like old friends. I looked up at him. "You know her?" He nodded. "Yes. I've known her for almost 4 years." I jumped to my feet. "You lied to me." "No," he replied quietly. "I simply couldn't tell you. She trusted you. She married me. And now she's in prison because of you." Brooks looked genuinely hurt. "No. She's not in prison." The room fell silent. "What?" "The arrest at your house was never meant to take her to jail. It was an emergency extraction. I felt the room spin. Extraction? She escaped less than 10 minutes after we left. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You mean she's free? Brooks nodded. Yes. But that's exactly what worries me. Why? He slowly slid one final photograph across the table. It had been taken only an hour earlier. Security camera footage. A woman wearing a black hoodie. Walking into an airport. Holding a passport. The face was unmistakable. Sophia. Or Emily. Whatever her real name was. But she wasn't alone. Standing beside her was the same man who had broken into my house looking for the flash drive. I looked at Brooks in disbelief. You said they were trying to kill her. He nodded. So why is she traveling with one of them? Brooks stared directly into my eyes. That's the question we've been trying to answer. And Ryan. If she's working with them again, then this entire marriage may have been planned from the very beginning. Part 5. The truth was hidden in our wedding ring. I couldn't breathe. I kept staring at the airport photo. The woman I had married. The woman I had trusted with my entire heart. Was standing beside the same man who had tried to kill me only an hour earlier. There has to be another explanation, I whispered. Brooks didn't answer. Instead, he handed me a cup of coffee. I hope you're right. But hope isn't evidence. The room fell silent. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. Brooks reached for it. Don't answer. But before he could stop me, I picked up. There was silence. Then, Emily's voice. Ryan. I know what you saw. It isn't what it looks like. I clenched my jaw. You lied to me. My name. My past. Our entire marriage. I lied about my identity. She whispered. But I never lied about loving you. I wanted to believe her. More than anything. But I couldn't. You were standing next to the man who tried to kill me. I know. Because he kidnapped me. My heart skipped a beat. What? He forced me into that airport. They're making me recover the flash drive. If I don't, they'll kill everyone who ever helped me. Before I could respond, a man's voice interrupted. Time's up. The call ended. I looked at Brooks. She sounded terrified. He nodded slowly. Or she's an excellent actress. 2 hours later, forensics finally unlocked the encrypted files on the flash drive. The room became completely silent. There were no stolen bank records. No secret offshore accounts. Instead, thousands of classified photographs appeared on the screen. Politicians, judges, corporate executives, federal agents. Every photograph showed the same thing. Private meetings with members of the cybercrime organization. Brooks turned pale. Oh my God. One folder was labeled Project Mirror. Another was titled Inside Contacts. Then, a video file appeared. Recorded only 3 days before my wedding. The video showed Emily sitting in a motel room. She looked directly into the camera. If you're seeing this, I probably failed. She held up a small object. Our wedding ring. If Ryan is alive, tell him to check the inside of my ring. I frowned. The ring. I reached into my pocket. When the FBI arrested her, one of the agents had handed me her wedding ring for safekeeping. I had completely forgotten about it. Brooks examined it carefully. At first, It looked ordinary. Then he noticed something. There. Using a tiny knife. He removed the inner gold lining. Hidden inside was an ultra-thin memory card. Brooks stared at me. She knew the flash drive wasn't safe. It isn't what it looks like. I clenched my jaw. You lied to me. My name. My past. Our entire marriage. I lied about my identity. She whispered. But I never lied about loving you. I wanted to believe her. More than anything. But I couldn't. You were standing next to the man who tried to kill me. I know. Because he kidnapped me. My heart skipped a beat. What? He forced me into that airport. They're making me recover the flash drive.